I did not bring water tonight, so I better run to go early.
I laughed.
Now we're going to start.
And they pulled these
The special meeting of the Jedo Board of Directors will come to order. Welcome to everyone. We're glad to have you joining us this evening. Look forward to the participation and the action that we will be taking. First item is the roll call, and I want to mention that voting member Councilman de la Isla has designated Councilman Jensen as her proxy for the meeting this evening. If you will proceed with the roll call.
Mayor Walgast.
Here.
Council members Cohen.
Here.
Emerson.
Here.
Jensen.
Present.
Shawnee County Commissioners Bueller. Here. Cook.
Here.
And Archer.
Here.
You have the agenda before you. I see no other deletions or additions. Unless any board members have any to make, we will then proceed with the first action item and approval of the minutes.
3 is approval of February 8, 2017 Jedo Board meeting minutes.
Okay, you've received a copy of the minutes from the February 8th meeting. Is there any items or any discussion for your procedure?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Commissioner Archer has moved to approve the minutes, and Commissioner Bueller has second. Is there any discussion? And that is an action item, but we have no one who is assigned to speak on that item. So all those in favor, raise your right hand.
We have 6 yes.
6 having voted yes, the minutes are approved as printed. Item 4.
4 is approval of a resolution regarding the Municipal Investment Pool, MIP, a public funds investment pool established pursuant to KSA 125-1677A.
And you have before you, which is a pretty much an action item of changing the signatory on our financial matters, revoking Brendan Kaufman and replacing with Nikki Lee, the finance director for the city of Topeka. Is there any discussion? If not, your pleasure. Councilman Jensen?
So moved.
Moves to approve. Councilman Emerson seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Or, excuse me, raise your right hand. Opposed?
We have 6 yes.
6 having voted yes, the item is approved. We go to
7.
7 having voted yes. Thank you. We're all voting members tonight. Go to item 5.
5 is approval of funding request in the amount of $124,715 for Project Fairway.
Thank you. And presenting on this will be Jackie Steele.
Good evening. Tonight we have an exciting and positive project for our community. Sorry, I'm gonna wait till my slides get up there. So this is an existing company that is looking to expand here in our community. They are looking to increase the capacity of their facility as well as add a new product line. So that is very exciting. It is a $55 million capital investment. You can see the majority of that, $50 million, is in equipment, and $4.9 million is in the facility. And so with the facility, the general footprint of the facility will remain about the same. There'll be a small 1,000 square foot expansion, but the majority of that $5 million will be in increasing the capacity of the inside of the facility, kind of reconfiguring things and getting that product line up. This expansion will equate to 60 full-time jobs and 50 part-time jobs. Those full-time jobs will pay an average of about $40,000 a year. In terms of the proposed incentives, we are looking at a maximum incentive of $124,715. You'll note that this incentive is only on that $55 million in capital investment. It will be performance-based. The Go Topeka Board recommended approval at their December meeting, and it is in line with the Go Topeka guidelines. Now I want to spend a little bit of time talking about our economic impact analysis. So you can see that we have a one-time $8 million economic impact. Now that one-time impact is based solely on the $4.9 million for the facility upgrades. The reason I did that is that $50 million in equipment, it is highly specialized equipment, and it is not being produced here in Shawnee County. It's likely not even being produced in the US. It's probably coming from someplace like Finland or Germany or Japan. And so the economic impact on that, because it's not being produced here, is pretty low. So that's why I only looked at the 4.9 for the facility construction. So if you think about that one-time impact, that would be things like construction workers, purchasing of materials, engineering, etc. And that's just a one-time incident. But I would argue, even though I didn't take into account that $50 million in equipment because it's not coming from our community, I would argue that there's at least a little bit of an impact for our community because that equipment does still need to be transported. It needs to be put into the facility. There's probably some engineering behind that. So I would argue that there is a bit of a positive impact on our economy for that. Even though we're not in any of the jobs at this time, I looked at what does that mean for 60 full-time jobs that are making $40,000 per year. That equates to a $37 million impact on our community. And I think it's important to note that this analysis does take into account commuting patterns. So it takes into consideration what does it look like in terms of people who maybe work in our community but don't live here. So that $37 million is based on those commuting patterns. So as we increase the people who live here, we can increase that number. So just something to kind of think about in terms of the future. But those 60 jobs do equate to $37 million in a reoccurring impact for our community. I also want to note that this is a partner project. We are working with the state on this. They are also providing some assistance to this company. We feel that it's not only important for our community, but it's also important for the state. So definitely kind of a team sport here. Also, you'll note tonight we were just referring to this as Project Fairway. The company wants to ensure that they do have the incentive, so that way their pro forma works before they announce who they are. And they also want to make sure there's some kind of different components occurring with their company, and they want to have all the communications in line with that before they release that. In our discussions with them, we do think that it's probably going to be very soon that they reveal themselves. So although not tonight, we do anticipate that that will be coming in the not too distant future. So finally, in terms of the approval, we are asking for approval of $124,715 in incentives contingent upon approval of official contract. We have been in discussions with the company on that contract. We anticipate that the official contract will come before you guys at the regularly scheduled May 10th Jedo meeting. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions?
Mr. Mayor?
It's very well put together. Commissioner Cook.
The 60 full-time and 50 part-time jobs, are these existing jobs that are already, or are these 60 new jobs and 55 new, or 50 new part-time jobs?
So those are new jobs that will come on with this expansion, with that new product line. So they are not in our community currently.
Okay, good point. Any other discussion points? Councilman, what is your pleasure? We'll have a motion and we have public comment.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Archer's moved to approve. Deputy Mayor Cohen has seconded. Do we have a public comment? Mr. Scott Griffith.
Good evening. When I got here this evening, I was talking to Matt, and I told him, I said, Matt, I thought I was retired. I didn't know I was going to have to be back up here so soon. No, actually, it's a pleasure to be here. I think Jackie did a great job in describing this incentive, and I just want to say two things. In December, when the Go-To-Peak Board approved this, I wanted to assure the Jedo that this is an existing good corporate citizen. And we wanted to, secondly, respect their request for confidentiality until they were ready to make the disclosure. And as Jackie said, it's going to be soon. They have some other announcements that are going to coincide with this. And so this expansion is just a part of maybe 2 or 3 things that they're going to be announcing as a company. So I don't want to rehash all the positives, but for $125,000 investment, I think this community is getting a lot return for that investment. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. We have a motion before us for approval of the funding request, the amount of $124,715 for the Project Fairway. No other discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
7 yes.
7 having voted yes, the item and the funding request is approved. We go to item 6.
6 is discussion of East Topeka Learning Center project update.
And since the Jedo is the owner of the property and of this facility, we thought it important that we do an update as regularly as we can on its status for you, the owners of this entity. So doing that is Barbara Stapleton.
And as you'll see in item 6 of your packet, you have the detailed information. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to review that information yet, but it basically just shares with you the status of where we are at currently in the East Topeka Learning Center project. We have purchased the site. We closed on the site on March the 10th. And so the purchase costs, the closing costs, as well as several environmental studies, including the phase 1, as well as the limited site investigation study, have been completed, and some additional expanded environmental investigation with the additional borings. I actually have excellent news that just came back to me last night, so of course it couldn't have been in this packet when it was released to you all last week. But from those additional borings, we were able to confirm, although there was one hit, it was within EPA guidelines, and it was in the ground. So it was something that is not anything that we're going to have to remediate. It's within the allowable guidelines. So I said, so we don't really have any hits, and I was corrected. We did have that hit, but not anything that's a cause for concern or will require us to do anything beyond what we were normally planning to do or have budgeted to do so far.
So that EPA aspect is final. We've done EPA studies and nothing was turned up.
We'll get the final limited site investigation report. I don't have the final one, but I have the verbal information from the environmental engineers.
Okay. Down there it says that you have released the request for qualifications, and could you describe a little bit what that is or what that interest is?
We pulled together a selection committee to be able to look at what are the qualifications that we'd need for an architectural design bid. We're looking at doing a design bid build concept, and so they developed a request for qualifications, which is out on the city's website. We used the city procurement method to be able to share that request for qualifications information. It just basically indicates, hey, we need to know everything that you're supposed to respond to from an architectural design perspective, and those are due on April 7th, so I provided you the timeline on that. Once we get those back, I'll get those to the selection committee. I use the term selection committee loosely because they're going to be selecting who would be recommended to Jedo to vote on approval of the selected design team at the May 10th regularly scheduled meeting.
And then can you describe a bit the program subsidy, what you're working on there concerning the
Certainly.
New Markets Tax Credit?
With the New Markets Tax Credits, we're working right now with an organization from the city. Originally, we had heard about capital management, capital asset management, that's sharing that information in terms of the New Markets Tax Credits. I know I shared in pretty great detail in February what those look like, and what I'm hoping to have happen is have Jeff White, who is the advisor from that organization, also present at the May 10th meeting to kind of share the details and a little bit more in terms of what those are. But those are tax credits. They're based on the total project. They're projecting right now that we could earn up to $1 million or so in tax credits to be able to then help supplement that gap funding that we have for the partnership funds related to the partnership with Washburn Tech.
Okay. All right. Questions? This is discussion item, so anything at all? Commissioner?
I do have a couple of questions. Wendy Wells seemed to indicate at our last meeting that you had to have a project scope of at least $10 million to even think about getting these tax credits. What's the deal?
And I have had, and Wendy's not with us, I don't believe, this evening, but I have connected Jeff and Wendy on a call, and he's been able to answer the questions that she had indicated, and she is comfortable with us continuing to pursue and move forward with this. So we're working on getting a letter, a commitment letter worked out with them to be able to have them pursue and see if we could qualify for the New Markets Tax Credits.
All right, if I may. Sure. Are we going to have a formal agreement with Washburn Tech, or are we just going to continue to do business on a promise and a handshake?
We are working on that currently, and I will keep you apprised of that as
I haven't seen anything. What are you doing? What's the progress? What are you working on? What are the parameters of the agreement?
Working with our council and working with Washburn's council as well.
Are you ready to give us an update on that?
I will be prepared to give you an update on that at the May 10th meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions concerning the East Topeka Learning Center? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. We will go then, item 7.
7 is discussion on the holistic economic development strategy update.
Okay, and having that is one of the tri-chairs, Keith Ward of Bartlett and West.
Thank you,
Bring us an
Mr. Mayor.
update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're at the end of the beginning, as we termed it. We had our last meeting of the steering committee for the holistic economic development strategy. We had that on Tuesday of this week. I want to thank the co-chairs, Mayor Wolgast and Commissioner Bueller. Together, we're chairs on a committee that consists of 40 individuals from our community that has led us to this point. And as I said, our meeting on Tuesday was our last meeting, but it's just the beginning. So on Tuesday, we covered four different areas. Number 1, where do we go from here with the implementation committee? Number 2, we talked about coordination of community organizations and how do we rally everybody behind this plan. Number 3, the timelines for implementation. And number 4, measurement of results. So let me just talk about a few key points. First of all, the game plan is that we will be in pre-implementation for the rest of this year. So we're going to be organizing communications throughout the community. We're going to be putting together a speakers bureau. We're going to be organizing the implementation committee, which will consist mainly of folks that were on the steering committee, folks that are most familiar with the strategies and why they were developed and why they're important. Number 2, we're going to be establishing work groups. We're going to establish work groups for most of the strategies. They will take possession of the strategies and they will be in charge of making sure that we complete those strategies. That's going to be happening during this pre-implementation phase. So we're looking at a public rollout in the fall of 2017. So we're a few months away from that. We have a lot of work to do yet to set things up before we can really officially get started on things. And as I mentioned, we'll start the official implementation of the plan in January of 2018. So we're not going to stand idly by until then. There are a lot of things that are in the plan that are underway right now, many of which you're aware of. The East Topeka Learning Center is one of those. The intern program that Forge is in charge of right now is also a strategy that is underway right now. Diversity and inclusion through the organization named Included is underway also. That's a part of the plan. Things like opening the state capitol on the weekends, that's a strategy included in the plan. It's underway right now too. Angel investors, those are among the things that are underway right now. So we're not idly standing by as we organize the committees to really implement the rest of the plan, and that's what will be underway for the rest of this year.
Okay.
Be happy to take any questions if you have any.
Are there questions, comments? This is discussion. Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
For the presentation. Go to item 8.
8 is discussion of the 49th Street improvement update.
And Molly Howie is going to, another project underway. Molly Howie will bring us up to date on that.
Yeah, so since we're here, I thought I'd give you a quick update on where we're at on improving the 49th Street in the Central Crossing Commerce Park. At our last meeting, you all approved initiating a benefit district to improve that road. And so we have engaged Bartlett and West engineers to go ahead and start the design process for that. And things are well underway there. This is just to remind you where we're talking about that, the road right here that's north of Home Depot and south of Frito-Lay. It's going to be a 3-lane industrial collector road similar to Winger Road that is already there in the middle of Central Crossing Commerce Park. The plan is to advertise construction early June with a 5-month construction timeline, so we'll still be within that goal of being finished with this road by December of 2017. The The design estimate is at $140,000 and construction estimate is at $1.6 million. So we're still under that 2.1 that we talked about at our last meeting. And Bartlett and West had done some preliminary designs for this road back in, I think, 2008. So the groundwork has been done, and we've kind of got a leg up on this project. So things are looking positive.
Questions? Discussion? Seeing none?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That completes our agenda items down to the planning, to the public comment. I want to comment that earlier we took action approving incentives and the possibility of significant new jobs and particularly new construction in the community. We celebrate that, but at the same time, we also acknowledge that we lost a company. Alorica is closing, and the jobs that are there. And certainly, we are concerned about the individuals working there, doing everything to help them find new jobs. Jobs are the most important thing in people's lives. And I know that Go Topeka and Workforce located here are working together on that so that we can provide all the help that we can for the individuals. And I think it's important that corporate decisions are made, and they are certainly not in the directions that we want, but I think it's important that we have to be able to address them and adjust. And I think the key is how do we respond as a community and as an economic development organization. And I think we're doing the appropriate things and working with them, and we then look at the future and see where we're going and how we can continue to develop companies and grow jobs in our community. Any other comments that anyone wishes to make? Go to public comment then. The first person to speak is Joseph Ledbetter.
Evening, governing body. I also concur. I do believe that with the East Topeka Learning Center, we definitely want to get that legal agreement. I agree with the commissioner on that, and I'm sure they will. But that definitely needs to be done when we can, as soon as possible. One of the things I wanted to talk about, we just, you know, a few of us were part of this holistic economic development strategy, and I'm not going to talk about any of the details, but I do want to point out that one of the things that came out early on in discussions, and it came out even under the Gardner report, was that the city has got to do a much better job of code enforcement and the aesthetics. And when I talk about code enforcement, I'm not talking about a nanny state type of concept. What I'm talking about is built-up areas where people are close together in cities. This is normal. This is how cities are built, and this is how people live in cities. But occasionally you have people, some of them are homeowners, many of them are slumlords in this town, unfortunately, that will not take care of the properties. And this includes commercial properties as well. So one of the properties that I've been concerned with, and I turned it into the city last September, is at 1103 Southwest 21st Street. Mr. Emerson actually saw it with me back in November. I actually said, I want you to see something. And what it is an old filling station, not 3 blocks from the Expo Center, where we're going to be spending $45 million, that has graffiti, broken windows, still has not been abated. And so when I ask questions about that, I never get, you know, an answer as to how this is going to be fixed. But that's just one example. This is on a busy street. I talked to a lot of people in this town. Some of them are in NIAs, some people are poor, some are much richer, some are very wealthy that I talk to, and they all tell me the same thing about code enforcement. They want it enforced, and they do not feel consensually that it is being done. And so I'm probably going to continue to talk about this because it has not been resolved. And I am saying that this, I believe, is affecting how the city is viewed, including by the people that live here, including by people that get fed up and eventually move out of some of these neighborhoods because they can't take it anymore. It is unfair to them. It is unfair to those homeowners. And it is unfair to our neighborhoods that people are treated like that and that the codes are not enforced with the extent that they're not enforced. I'm not saying it doesn't happen some, but I will say one more complaint I hear a lot of is that it's selective, that there are people that are never talked about, never cited, and yet the same house across the street will be continuously cited. So there's also a fairness issue that's going on that is not being addressed. Why am I bringing it to Jedo? Because I believe it's an economic development issue. So thank you for hearing me. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you for your comments. Next is Scott Griffith.
I respectfully will pass.
All right. Keith Warta.
I decline, Mayor.
All right. Carol Marple. Good. All right. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to take a few minutes and make a few observations that I have seen. First of all, I would like to thank whoever is responsible for the agendas being available to the public. I really appreciate that. I do believe that Go Topeka is taking many, many positive steps, and I'm excited. I think that this meeting tonight is a reflection. I find it very relaxed and not pushed, that perhaps the board should consider meeting more often. You know, I'm not going to say you have to meet every month. That would probably be a good idea, but maybe every other month, because we pack a lot of issues in a small amount of time. So that's just an observation. The one thing that really concerns me, and I don't think enough is being done, is that I don't think that we're taking as good of care as we could with our existing properties. I still think that is falling very much behind, and I think there needs to be a lot of improvement there. I would also suggest that when you're forming groups, I see a tendency to have the same names in the groups, or they're supposed to represent agricultural, and I'm just going to use that as an example because that's what I'm familiar with. And I don't see anybody that's livelihood is totally dependent on agriculture. I think you need to be more aware of the people that you appoint to make up these groups. And with that, I'm done, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Unless there's other items from the board, seeing no other business, then we are adjourned. 6:28.
Good meeting, guys.
Well,